when it comes to communication, I would strongly recommend volunteers to learn the local phrases, which could be very helpful to them. The phrases related to directions and some silly phrases which can make the communication very easier for the host country would be useful for them.
So I had expected language to be quite a big challenge before I went, but nothing could prepare me for the diversity of languages that we had in the team. So it wasn't just that, not all volunteers spoke English, but they also didn't necessarily speak Hindi either, and lots of volunteers only spoke their local language from the state that they were from in India. So it did mean we had to be really creative about the ways that we made sure that everybody felt involved, everybody knew what was going on. I do remember a time when we spent about an hour drawing pictures to try and describe what happened in a youth meeting, but that really did help to strengthen the team bonds as well.
One of the UK volunteers used the word string, so I was not sure what he was talking about. So what happened was, after a couple of minutes, I said that why don't we use threads? So everyone started staring at me, and that was a very awkward situation for me because the UK volunteer meant the same thing. So never shy away from asking things again. There can be a couple of communication gaps. A lot of people would speak just Hindi and not English, and I was the only volunteer to translate. Encourage others to translate, and that will be the key to success.
Listening attentively and always asking questions whenever possible, and always not shying out by asking questions, because people come from different cultural backgrounds, and language barrier is something common, and also amongst ourselves in terms of Kenyan to Kenyan counterparts, and also with various community people. When it comes to language barrier, it's normally very difficult to understand each other, but by listening attentively and always asking questions whenever possible, that is my way of managing the language barrier.
En mi grupo hacíamos clases de inglés y de español por lo menos una vez a la semana, y eso era muy bueno porque las personas que hablaban más inglés les enseñaban a los que estaban aprendiendo, y los que hablaban más español también les enseñaban a los que estaban aprendiendo.
I think it's amazing how much you can communicate without actually sharing a common language. You can get a lot across just through gestures. I'd say that it is really important, however, that you do try and learn a few key phrases. People tend to be really forgiving if you show that you're making attempts to learn their language, and ask your volunteers, your UK volunteers, not to rely on their counterparts as translators, because that's not what they're there for. Obviously it's useful at times, but the UK volunteers really should be making an effort to integrate as well.
Language can be a huge problem if it is not handled in the right way. So it's always important as a team leader that you come up with new ways to make sure that language barriers don't affect team activities. So as a team leader, try to be a mediator between two groups, South Africans and the UK guys. So by so doing, you make sure everything is communicated in a language that everyone can hear. Even in meetings, make sure you get to communicate in common language so you can all understand, and don't assume things. Don't assume people know this or should know this. Communicate with each and every single member of a team. Speak loud. If there are questions, address them. So it's going to make your work much easier, and you're going to flow as a team.
Patience, not just patience in week 1 or week 2, but the whole way through your program.
Don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Do lots of hand gestures, joking, laughing, body language, and have fun with it.
So we have national volunteers who already know their local languages, and where that is not possible, we work with community members that are very sensitive to the needs of our volunteers, and they'll always make sure that they translate. So, and where you go to a meeting and find that no translation is happening, all you need to do is ask, and trust me, they are lovely people and friendly enough, and they will translate for you.
Try to understand what the other person is saying. It might be difficult initially because we have to understand the fact that even though we both speak same language, that is English, the dialect and the accent might be different. So keep understanding. If you don't understand something, then ask your counterpart or whoever can help. Another thing would be like what happened in my case was that because the in-country volunteers, they were not used to the accent of British accent, they didn't understand what the British team leader was saying. So it is the in-country team leader can always follow up with the in-country volunteers so that there is no information gap.
Where possible, use visual aids. So as a group, we'd kind of use pictures, or we'd get people to act out things if there was a misunderstanding. Also, a really good tip was when we were running sessions, so with the community, was to rather ask, do you understand, or is that okay, where people would always say yes or no, but actually ask concept questions, so what time are we meeting, where do we need to be, those kind of questions where you know that people have understood and everyone's on the same page really helped.
I think the main thing I learned was to speak slowly.
We try to just tell the UK volunteer they should speak slowly and clearly, and the in-country volunteer try to be attentive and try to careful the listening the UK volunteers. That's the important to listen carefully, and the UK volunteers tell the clearly and slowly.
Algo súper importante es siempre apoyar en la traducción. Aunque los chicos no fueran bilingües, muchos de ellos manejaban lo básico, y la verdad es que aunque uno no sea experto en otro idioma, uno entiende con palabras, con muecas, con lenguaje corporal o mostrándolos. No siempre tiene que ser hablado, también puede ser enseñarles qué es exactamente. Y cuando necesitaban también clases de inglés y español, siempre había alguien dispuesto a dar una sesión, por lo menos también una vez a la semana, sobre el otro idioma.